Welcome back to Midnight History, where every night forgotten stories awaken beneath the quiet stars. If you love drifting through time, through mystery, war, and wonder, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next midnight. Now, let's return to the sky of 1972, where thunder had wings and the night itself was on fire. The night sky trembled. Engines roared like thunder over Hanoi. From the clouds above came a shadow, vast, cold, and unstoppable. It was called the B-52, the fortress of the sky, the ghost of the Cold War. In 12 nights of fire and steel, it rained destruction upon a city that refused to fall. This is not just the story of a machine, but of the courage that stood against it. Tonight we remember the legend, the ghost in the sky of war. In the ashes of World War II, the world feared silence as much as it feared noise. Nations were rebuilding, but behind the curtain of peace, another kind of war had already begun. The Cold War, a contest not of soldiers, but of machines, numbers, and fear. In 1946, the United States made a decision that would echo for generations, to build a flying fortress capable of reaching any place on Earth, a messenger of deterrence, and if needed, destruction. The company Boeing was chosen. For years, engineers worked in hangars filled with the smell of oil and metal. 6 prototypes failed, wings broke, engines overheated, but on April 15, 1952, a silver shape rose into the dawn sky for the first time, the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress. 8 engines, wings like a bird of myth, a range so vast it could fly halfway around the world without stopping. It wasn't just a plane, it was America's promise and its warning. The Cold War had found its voice. Through the 1950s and 60s, the B-52 became the very image of American power. Its presence filled the skies over Alaska, Greenland, and Guam. Hidden inside each one were nuclear weapons powerful enough to end millions of lives. Every hour of every day, squadrons of B-52s patrolled invisible circles across the oceans. They never landed, refueled midair, constantly in motion. Their pilots slept in bunkers, waiting for the order that must never come. To the world, they were symbols of control. To those who flew them, they were prison cells of duty, long hours above the clouds carrying the weight of apocalypse. They called it mutually assured destruction, the idea that peace could only exist if both sides were too terrified to begin a war. Yet even peace built on fear cannot last forever. By the late 1960s, the thunder of the B-52 would echo not over Moscow, but over jungles half a world away. December 1972. For most of the world, Christmas lights were glowing. In Hanoi, the lights were burning. For real. Operation Linebacker 2 was the largest bombing campaign since World War II. 193 B-52s unleashed their cargo upon the capital of North Vietnam. Each wave carried thousands of bombs, carpet bombing that turned streets to craters and hospitals to rubble. But Hanoi did not sleep. Civilians dug trenches, carried wounded neighbors, sang in the shelters while the city above shook. Vietnam's air defenses, guided by radar and fueled by defiance, launched their own fire into the sky. Missiles rose, glowing trails cutting across the night. And then, explosions. 1, 2, another. A fortress fell, then another. By dawn, the wreckage of a B-52 burned in the mud. Its steel ribs reflected the fire of the rising sun. The impossible had happened. The ghost had been wounded. The United States called it a tactical failure. Vietnam called it victory. The truth lies somewhere in the silence between the two. The wreck of the B-52 became more than debris. It became a monument. Proof that no power is infinite. In Ngoc Ha, a quiet lake still holds the broken wings of one such machine. Children played near it for years, unaware they were touching history. For the pilots who survived, the memory was different. They spoke of fear, of confusion, of watching instruments fail as the ground rushed closer. Some were captured, others rescued, but all carried the same question. How did a small, war-torn country bring down the might of the American sky? The answer was never just in weapons, it was in resolve. It was in the belief that even the sky can be defended, and that courage, when cornered, becomes the greatest weapon of all. Half a century has passed. The B-52 still flies. Modernized, repainted, rearmed. Its bones now older than the pilots who fly it. They say it will serve until 2050, nearly 100 years after its birth. But wherever it goes, it carries the weight of memory. Over deserts, it hums like a storm from another age. Over oceans, it whispers of nights when courage faced fire. And somewhere in Hanoi, under the quiet moon, the rusting wreck of a fallen B-52 still lies. Silent, eternal, unmoving. Some say the lake around it is haunted. Maybe it is. Not by ghosts of hatred, but by the echo of every heartbeat that refused to give in. History never truly ends. It circles back, in sound, in memory, in the quiet hum of engines far away. The B-52 began as a symbol of power, but in the long night of history, it became something more. A reminder of both human brilliance and human cost. When you look up at the sky tonight, know that somewhere above the clouds, a machine built for war still flies. And somewhere beneath, a city still remembers the nights when the earth shook, but did not break. If your heart is still wandering through the echoes of tonight's story, stay a little longer. There are many more nights waiting. Nights where forgotten empires breathe again and lost souls still whisper through the dark. If you wish to drift once more into the quiet of history, subscribe to Midnight History, so that when the next midnight arrives, you'll be here, listening as time itself begins to dream again.